Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another. Well, geez, it's 2025. We're still talking about Bridget, I guess. The retcon of Bridget. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, super chat, like the video, whatever. If you want to support the channel, it helps. But I want to make this a bigger topic, and I want to talk about just how monetized the LGBTQ have become, specifically the overly radical, because I've said many times before, the LGBTQ is supposed to be something that's good, but it's used for complete evil now, and it's just ridiculous. And I do want to focus on that idea of monetizing evil, this idea of monetizing fake victim complex sort of things, right? And I want to say as well that it's almost like people glorify this idea of being a victim. And as I've showed before many times in this video and in the videos I make and the stuff that I talk about, you don't want to be at the point where you're an actual victim. That's not something good. You don't actually want to be at the point where you actually have a real health problem, which we'll talk about that Charmander person, like basically faking their death and all these terminal illnesses and everything like that. But for the Bridget thing, once again, I want to say this, okay? Do you think that I created the Japanese language? I hope you don't think that I created the Japanese language, because I've said this many times before. Even Bridget's name is a play on somebody pretending to be something they aren't. Do you know what a buriko is? Just like Burijito, you know, when you say the name, if you just do the shorthand. Daisuke was so big brain, he even purposely gave Bridget's name the Bridgito. So when people just call her Buri is short for Buriko, pretending to be something that you aren't. I've said this before. Do you think that I made the Japanese language? Do you know if you actually use the kanji? Do you know if you actually use the kanji for Bridget? Do you know what you get? Okay, is this showing up? Let me show this. I'm showing multiple sources just so people don't think I created the Japanese language, right? Is this showing up? It's the catfish kanji. If you even use kanji for it, it's catfish. Do you know what a catfish is? Pretending to be someone that they're not? Oh my God. Pretending? Do you know Japanese? That's why I'll say I'll never understand how people try to say that the Bridget thing is not a retcon. It's so weird to me. Even Daisuke in interviews said Bridget was made as a joke character. I don't get it. And looking at this anime, it's just ridiculous that the way they try to pass this off, that this isn't a retcon. And do the LGBTQ people not see that they are being monetized? That it's like fake? I guess they don't care. And you know, something I've said before about LGBTQ people, not everybody, but, and this is like a hard pill to swallow. You got to remember that not liking who you are, not liking how you look is not some sort of exclusive LGBTQ thing, right? I have what, like 24,000 people on my YouTube, whatever, right now. I'm sure a lot of them are haters. You know, I'm sure not all of them are LGBTQ people. I would say in my, in all these 24,000 people, whatever it is, do you think everybody likes who they are? Do you think everybody is the person that they want to be? But LGBTQ people will seemingly tell you that, oh, you know, we're the only people that don't like, you know, ourselves and we're being held down, trying to be someone else kind of thing, kind of bullshit. It's like lots of people are insecure. You're not the only people who are insecure, right? You're not the only people who have feelings, right? It's ridiculous. And I want to talk about more about that Charmander motherfucker and, you know, people monetizing like fake illnesses and victim stuff, which I didn't put this in the Charmander video, but this is of course one of Charmander's best friends or whatever. Oh yeah, another person who faked terminal illnesses for attention, even admittedly, right? Wow. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say. You know, how many people in the specifically the Dragon Ball Fighter Z community have faked serious illnesses for attention, terminal, whatever it is, for money? So we got like Cal's Kingdom, Charmander, that old priest guy, that Talios Drake guy, Sepher, Am I missing more people? Wait. Charmander, Talios, Cal's Kingdom, Sepher, Priest. I'm sure there's more. It's hard to keep up with. And I want to show you just how insane this motherfucker is too. Let's look at this. Not much about me is male, hun. Oh my God. You know, Charmander is such a evil motherfucker, if not for the fact that they're so evil and they have faked illnesses for attention, including serious illnesses, right? You would almost feel bad for them looking at them. Would you agree that Charmander is actually, and this is a person that says that they're God. Let's move my face so you can actually see their quote. Jesus. Oh my God. This is a person that creates bad people lists. This person should be on their own bad person list. I don't know. You did lie about a video game. You're so incompetent in a video game that you talked about how you were being gatekept and it wasn't fair. And so you lied about me and you faked dying. I mean, you're kind of a bad person yourself, motherfucker. And yet all they talk about how pretty they are, how godlike they are. Like like I said before, the LGBTQ is supposed to be something that's good, but it's just used for complete evil and like this fake victim complex. And how often are these people constantly the ones that are actually the most narcissistic and delusional? You know, it's funny. I tried to post this in a Discord that Charmander faked their death, basically, just like all these other people for money. And I'm asking, why don't you guys talk about it? Strangely enough, obviously, sites like Event Hubs have promoted these people as being leaders of the community. Do you think Event Hubs got any money back from that? Just like, do you think they made any money by promoting Buttmonger and all the things he lied about? Monetizing evilness, dude. And you know what happened when I tried to post this in a Discord for Dragon Ball FighterZ? They deleted it. Why? The Strive thing it sets such a terrible example that it shows a big name corporation using a specific set of people for money so blatantly and getting away with it. And it almost encourages people like this sick Michael Charmander, now calling themselves Ellie, to fake dine and then go the LGBTQ route because, I mean, that's a good way to make money. Good way to get fake sympathy. You know, I've said this before, you don't actually want to be dying. As someone that has actually been dying before, and I'll tell the two examples because they stick out to me and I've told them before. If you've actually ever been to the point that you're dying, you know, your body is shutting down, you know, you start to actually go a little bit crazy, right? I've talked about before that, or, you know, think about it like this. When you hear people that talk about how they're dying and they're like, oh, I saw a bright white light and Jesus was there or something like that. Oh, it was a white light, you know, all brightness. That's because you start going crazy, dude, when you're actually dying. When I was dying, I was in so much fucking pain, dude. You start to almost hallucinate, dude, as your body is shutting down. So much pain that you basically pass out from the pain only to then wake up from the nightmare because it's like a hallucination nightmare. Then you wake up from this like nightmare and the pain. So it was like a constant back and forth. So much pain that your body would just like shut off. And then you would wake up because you're in so much pain. It was just over and over. And it was terrible. And I can tell you when I was dying, there was no bright white light. It was all darkness and terribleness. It was extremely painful. I've talked about before, if you ever actually get that sick, that fucked up, you know, again, another extreme example I've given, you know, say you're like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ever going to have sex with a girl, whatever. I've had times where it's like, I don't know if I'll ever even be able to masturbate again because I can't really move anymore. That's how sick it is to be dying, dude. And you have these people, and why are they so often LGBTQ people? And that's not to say that it's only LGBTQ. Obviously, there's many other people who lie about me. But I don't know why they put so many LGBTQ people on a pedestal when they don't do anything worth value. Do you think the Charmander person, he makes a list of people that are bad, but he doesn't put himself on the list, even though he faked that he was going to die for sympathy, for clout, just like coincidentally many of his friends did. Many of his friends lie about video games for clout, and then they use the LGBTQ excuse. And then you even have big name companies like Guilty Gear who use the LGBTQ for money because it's so fucking easy to do. It isn't even logical. I have no sympathy for people like this, and they deserve all the worst as far as I'm concerned. That's why people are like, oh, Clayton, you think you're nice. You said you wouldn't care if somebody dies. I wouldn't care if Charmander died. I wouldn't care if any of these people that lie about me die. If the worst thing you can say about Clayton Chapman is he doesn't care if people die that have lied about him, I mean, I'm fine with dying like that. That's not like, I don't think I'm gonna I don't think I'm gonna regret that, dude. That's not gonna be on my list of regrets, And I just, to see people so, and someone posted a thing on Reddit recently, and I never even heard of it. The guy was called like Sketchick or something, and he faked his death for clout, and it's just like, you don't want to actually die, dude. It is so fucking painful. And then even if you make it out, I mean, look at my example, and this isn't to talk shit about other people who have had cancer or anything like that, but me doing all the radiation, guess what? I've developed all these permanent side effects. I'm still sick all the time in and out of the hospital. My body is fucked. I didn't make it out amazingly, right? You know what I mean? I still have permanent side effects from all the stuff that I've gone through, right? You don't actually want to be dying. Just like you see people talk about wanting to kill themselves, all this kind of stuff. Dude, there's nothing waiting for you, dude. You don't want to talk about like killing yourself. Do you realize how painful it is to actually die? It's not good. And then you have people, I'm LGBTQ, so I fake all this stuff, and just no sympathy or no. They're like a child. That's how these people are treated. Like, not even a slap on the wrist, it's seemingly, right? It's like, whatever. You're LGBTQ now, so it's okay. Oh, yeah, you faked all this stuff. Oh, okay. I don't know why the video game community specifically allows so many just evil people in it. And then they try to paint me, how often, as the actual bad person. And it's just, it's ridiculous. And I can only wish nothing but the worst on all of these people. And the community that tries to hide it is just as evil. And I don't know. Again, it goes back to, something I've said. There's almost this idea that only LGBTQ people aren't the person they want to be. Which you could say, of course, yes, it sucks to not be born in the body that you identify as if you're legitimately transgender, right? But the hard pill to swallow is that lots of people aren't who they want to be. I don't like how I look. I'm not the person I want to be. Do you think I want to be? I've been living my life in and out of the hospital for how long now? This isn't the life I wanted to live. I have, like I said, 24,000 people on my YouTube. Do you think everybody is the person they want to be? Just like I've used the example, say, when I first heard about, or not first heard about tournaments, but I first started going to tournaments, you could say. And I was going to Detroit or something like that, right? And I saw a bunch of black dudes, right? And it was a wake-up call because I was like, oh, wow, I saw the people that were the nerds, that were the cliche stereotypical nerd, they were often the worst at games. And I saw these hardcore looking black dudes were actually like beating a lot of these nerds. And that was a wake up call. But to use that as an example, do you think these black dudes, let's say, in Detroit, do you think they want to live a life around guns, violence, and drugs and everything like that? No, that's why they went to the arcade. They're not living the life they want to. Do you think you identifying as a fucking a fucking rhinoceros, are you so much more important than the black dude growing up in the ghetto or some shit like that is trying to play video games just so they don't have to worry about being killed and the violence in their neighborhood? You stay at home in your room and you play video games all day. Like what's your and it's like, what are you doing to even be the best? And this is something I've said before too. What are so many of these people actually doing to be that ideal? And I know not everybody has had my life. Not everybody has had to like basically teach themselves to walk again. And I said before, a lot of the reasons that I look like I do now is because you could say that I had such a terrible upbringing that it gave me a stronger will to live, you could say. And I look at some of these people and you see Charmander talking about how beautiful they are and how they're godlike and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, what have you done? Do you think that this person, while they faked illnesses for attention and all this kind of stuff, and then they just talk about how they're a god and they have a list of people who are bad, right? Apparently they're not on their own list. What are they doing to be this ideal person that they want to be? People forget, and this is always crazy. And it's crazy to me to even think that I was that sick at some point. There was a time that, not only on disability, but I was thinking about getting a handicap sticker. Now, I know some people think that I have faked my health, and can you imagine if I actually had the body I do now, let's say, and I had a handicap sticker, right? But, I think that I'm glad I didn't get that handicap sticker. When doctors were giving me my will, thinking about how much longer I'm going to be alive, all that kind of stuff. And even now, who knows how long I'm going to be alive, right? I'm still very sick all the time. But certainly, I told myself if I'm going to die, then I'm going to die being the best version of myself that I can be, right? And you could say that's probably, and maybe that's not a very motivating story because obviously I haven't accomplished much with my life. So, but, I guess I'm still around, right? But, I often think that if I would have been like, yes, I need the handicap sticker, I probably would be dead right now, right? And I think people forget you can look at my health record just to see how many terrible things I've had to go through and just how bad my health has been at different points in my life. And again, just think about that. I've actually been, and you probably look at this video and you're like, it sounds crazy. And even when I look at myself and I think about it, sometimes it's like, whoa, if I would have been like, yeah, I need the handicap sticker, I probably would just be dead by now, right? Because that's like admitting defeat. And you have these kind of people that they don't actually have to try because they're able to monetize their weakness. They're able to monetize their victim complex. And it's no wonder that they often look the way they do and act the way they do like children because they're treated like children, right? To use an example, and this is a little bit morbid, right? You have to remember that I grew up in a family where, my dad blew his brains out. Brother tried to kill himself multiple times. Uncle killed himself. They found him hanging. My younger brother, everyone's worried that he's going to try to kill himself someday, And to use an example about my younger brother, he's treated like very lightly, right? And that's not that my younger brother isn't talented. He's a talented artist and he graduated his college, one of the highest people ever in the history of the college. But his life has not turned out the way that he would have liked. And I know he has a lot of regrets. And my brother is one of those people that sadly was afraid to admit that he cares. And he went down the path of kind of being a stoner, you could say, for the worst, you know. He was afraid to admit he cares. And a lot of my family members, they treat him with kids' gloves because they're always afraid that he's going to kill himself. And I've told this story before that, I've woken up before, like crying before, like thinking about my brother. And I think I told this story a few years ago that, sometimes when you have a dream about a person that they don't actually look like they do, right? But you still recognize that it's them. And I had a dream about my brother. And often my brother is, when I have dreams about my brother, he's still my little brother. I have dreams of him in his sort of like more youthful child appearance. But in this dream, my brother was old, which my brother is older now. I'm old too. And I was like, I woke up crying for my brother and myself this particular dream because I'm like, well, if my brother's old, I'm old. And I feel bad for my brother because, you only have so much time in life to turn things around. And unfortunately for my brother, he is a person that, it fucked him up being treated with kids' gloves too much. And sadly going down the path of a stoner, you can smoke weed, but if you actually become the stoner even into adulthood, it's not very healthy. And he was afraid to admit that he cared. And there was a time, I don't have money for it now, but I used to buy my brother, vitamins and all this kind of stuff to try to get him to work out and, be healthy. But, eventually he wasn't taking anything. And it's like, dude, I barely have money for it for myself. I don't have money just to keep buying you it if you don't even take it. But, he was afraid to admit that he cares. And, I always say again, I have the upbringing of, abused growing up. I was very unpopular and being scared. And then I had then right when I changed how I look, so to speak, once I became quotation marks popular, and life was turning around, I found out that I was good at video games, which I didn't know, as I've told the story before. And then very lickety split, I got sick, and who knows how much longer I'm going to be alive. But growing up with so many negative experiences, I was always like, and I've told the story before. Well, I shouldn't say I always was like, because there was a time that I for sure that I did not push myself hard enough when I had first started getting sick. And partly that is, you could say, which isn't totally my fault, that I never bothered to read my health records to see just how sick I was. I just listened to whatever my doctors said, like, oh, geez, your thyroid, got to get your thyroid removed, all this kind of crap. But I didn't realize that, my whole body was shutting down, that I was as sick as I was. But, that I do regret, not pushing myself harder, not being more proactive in my life, right? Because it was, geez. Dying is a terrible thing, dude. You don't want to be dying, dude. And especially because even if you survive, again, look at me, right? I survived it, but I'm still fucked up all the time. But these people are treated like children and allowed to fake such terrible and evil things, and then just use the LGBTQ as an excuse, and it's just sickening. Anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, sub, So the comment, share, support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.